Okay, good. So then, hello again, late good morning from our side as well. So we have decided to look a bit into challenges that still remain, or concerns that remain related to using artificial intelligence tools in tertiary academic writing. And as you have heard before, so for a couple of years I have been teaching academic writing courses on bachelor's degree level or master's degree level. The courses are a mixture of German and English, so basically, this is the starting point, actually, why I looked into this questionnaire. What I have to say is that I would do it differently because the data is from the academic year 2023 and 2024, and things have changed. It's not that AI tools change, so well, our approach to the students' approach to these basically, so that has changed as well. Well, I'm going to the next slide. So as you can see, we are two presenters. So it's like I'm starting and then Dietmar is taking over actually with the open issues and the concerns that still remain. Well, just to give you an idea about the institutions. So, I mean, well, when you think of Austria, probably quite often it's just Vienna. So Graz is the second largest town. So our University of Applied Sciences is actually, well, we wrote one of the largest, but actually I think it is the largest in Austria. So as you can see, with more than 5,000 students, 800 employees, and more than 20,000 graduates. We have got three different, let's say, locations. So with the main campus, which is situated in Graz. And there is a clear focus on, well, it is a teaching university, but there's also a clear focus on research. And of course, research are connected to, let's say, the economic focus in the area. So we have bachelor's degree programs, master's degree programs, and you can see the variety of areas. So we just offer to our students listed underneath. Well, so let's actually start with the survey that was carried out last year at the beginning of the academic year. So actually, we handed out the questionnaires to the students between October and November 2023. So on bachelor's and on master's degree level, altogether 5 different student cohorts. And you can see the total numbers to almost 200 level. And the questionnaire was handed out to students from 2 different study areas. So with an engineering focus and with a design focus. Well, so I'm continuing with the questions. And as you can see, originally there were 10 questions, but well, number 10 was just for statistical purposes. 9 questions, and some of them are highlighted, so they are in bold print, and one of them is in a different color. So the one color differently is the one, of course, I would like to look into, and first of all, the first 2. So the familiarity of students regarding AI tools, and does familiarity mean that they also use it to the same extent, or is there a difference here visible as well? Good. What I can tell you is that the findings were not really stunning, yeah, but nonetheless, so these are findings. And at the very beginning of the academic year, I just wanted to find out, okay, good, there are these artificial intelligence tools. Do they use them? To what extent are they used by students? Which tools do they use? And of course, in order to design the class appropriately, I just wanted to find out, do they use these tools as writing assistants, or just simply as a good fun? It's a content creator, and I can pass on my duties to a generative AI tool. Well, I offer them a couple of tools. So last year, the ones that were the most popular ones, at least from my understanding, from my perspective. And out of these 8 tools that were offered, we can see that, of course, ChatGPT was the winner. So it was the most popular one, not only in being familiar with it, knowing it, but also in its usage. DALL-E, then, of course, I mean, DeepL, so this is a tool I think they have used before without any doubt in Ramley. Yeah. So Magic Slides was offered as well. Then Illicit Quilt. But these were actually, we only had almost negligible number of students actively using these tools. Well, as I've said before, so my main interest was, do they use these tools in order to generate the text, which is then handed on or passed on to me, so handed in? Or is it just that they use it for some kind of refinement? Yeah, so do they use it actively thinking about it, reflecting, or they just use it, that they basically create the text within a couple of minutes, yeah? So, of course, I mean, what you just tell them at the very beginning is that they have to use these tools carefully. And the most important thing, nonetheless, is that in their particular career field, so that they show what they know, that they can basically make this transfer from, well, their cognitive process, as we have heard before earlier in the morning, so that they can transfer this into words, so into a meaningful text as well. So this is what you can see at the bottom. So can they show what they know? Can they collaborate meaningfully with, well, the selected AI tools? And then, of course, the last step, which is a very essential one. So do they compare and do they validate their results? Well, as you can see, questions 1 and 2, so questions 1 and 2 are very basic questions. They just looked into the use, the familiarity of the tools. And even here, although, as I've said before, the results are not really stunning, we can see that almost all of them, certainly with 53, I'm just looking at bachelor's level, so with an engineering background, they know them, but this does not necessarily mean that they also use these tools, yeah? And we can see, I mean, as I've said before, ChatGPT is the most popular one, so when we look into the other ones, they know them, but this does not mean that they really use them, yeah? I'm continuing with the line graph, so the one that refers to question number 7, so AI-based text processing tools. And once again, so are the results pretty much identical to what I've quickly mentioned before. So we can see a clear discrepancy. So both career fields, I mean, we can see that obviously due to academic writing classes on bachelor's degree level or with the engineering students towards the very end of the bachelor's degree level, so obviously that they have familiarized more. So the gray line, so we can see that basically here at the beginning, the use is really quite restricted, quite limited. And there's always a clear difference. The science students focus more on these tools. They show more interest than are the engineering students. Yeah, basically the only feature that somehow sticks out a bit is our text evaluation, where we can see that only our design students obviously make use of these tools. Well, what else? So as these are quite obvious, so the results, so this is what we can see here displayed. So in more detail with text generation, with paraphrasing. So it always reflects the same result, yeah? A higher acceptance on the master's degree level than on a bachelor's degree level. And of course, it's more welcome among design students than among engineering students. Same is true for text correction translation, which is actually quite interesting because I thought that our engineering students, that they are quite happy that they have got these tools available, which basically it's so easy for them when they use it to help them to basically improve the quality of the text. But the acceptance was actually not that high than expected. Well, so this actually takes me to the next slide, and this is a kind of summary. So basically you can find these 4 categories, these 4 groups of users. So those who frequently use generative artificial intelligence tools. And as I have said before, so basically we just provide them, we give them information, we give them, let's say, material they need, so they can basically really just prepare a good bachelor paper or a master thesis. So they also need certain administrative, let's say, pieces of information as well. And I guess just to make them aware, so when I split them into these 4 groups, so the frequent users, the moderate users, rare, and then there is even a group, and they said, well, we don't use them at all, so that they need certain documents in order just to correspond to what we all know, what is called academic integrity. And this is something you have to teach them as well, yeah? So, and this institution, and that's the reason why I've said at the beginning, so I would have done it differently this year, because over last academic year, there was a lot more of information provided by the institution, not only for us instructors, but also for the students. There is also, well, a Moodle course that recently started at the beginning of October, where students actually can access the course, get all the information they need, go through training sessions, have little questionnaires they can answer so that they're familiarized with the topic. Yeah. So what we recommend is, so for those who are really frequent users, and they just quite openly admit that they frequently use these tools, so that they really add a declaration of originality, so that they say, good, fine, this is basically, so they show what their, let's say, independent accomplishments are. And this is something that needs to be added to their papers. Yeah. A very frequent question, I guess this is a very practical approach. It's also one of the first questions you can hear from the student side is, what do I do with citation rules? Yeah? What do I do when I have got certain text passages generated, or I don't know, is it even like visual information? So with the design students, so how do I cite, how do I quote these generated passages correctly? So this is one part, you have to make them aware as well. And well, luckily, so yeah, a lot happened over the last academic year. And now there are quite, yeah, basically clear instructions when you look into, I mean, we focus mostly on MLA. And what is also recommended, so at least in my department, so our students, they mostly use are the citation rules from the American Psychological Association. What I think what is, yeah, certainly quite necessary as well is so-called AI directory. So quite similar to what we do, for example, with a list of, let's say, tables or with, let's say, images, so that we add which AI tools have been used during the compilation of my bachelor paper, my master thesis, how were they used, to what extent, and that I give towards the end, I added to the document a clear overview of are these tools, and of course, as I've said before, what was the purpose? Yeah, why did I use it, and how much simply was the particular tool used? Well, for Node.js AI users, I don't know if they still exist, but well, some say they don't like the tools. So, well, it is what basically you can find in every institution that you have to an affidavit. So, well, I'm hopefully, so, shall I? No, there is one more part, yeah. So now I'm looking into question number 9. Yeah, so it's the most critical question. So this is the one I think I always ask students. So how basically I mean, we have heard about critical thinking before, and I guess there is no need to look into its importance once again. But how does it shape their process? And of course, the ideal situation is what you can read here, that we, in writing pedagogies, we foster creativity. Yes, of course, this is what we want to have. Yeah, of course, we want to develop critical thinking at the same time, and we want to foster the ability that they really can formulate ideas logically, clearly. So, and especially I'm thinking of my engineering students, supported by evidence, supported by logical structure as well, so that they have got clearly formulated claims with clarity and precision. I've written here, and this is something that should be visible, noticeable in all the individual writing phases. So it's pre-writing, post-writing, editing, and so on. Well, it's the ideal situation. I don't know if we always have this ideal situation. And of course, I mean, not it's surprising. I have chosen some responses, and these are, well, the positive ones, yeah, where we can clearly see that students reflect on this, yeah. I'm not going to read them out to you. I'm just giving you, I don't know, 3 seconds for each, or 5 seconds. So this one is translated, so the original contribution was in German. So I think we're running out of time and I do not, well, I spent too much, I'm sorry. I'm just quickly handing over because there are so many issues that still remain open.
Okay, let me just quickly see if this works. I will just try to shorten it a little bit. The practical and ethical issues. So I will look at the buts of using AI and what we as teachers need to pay attention to specifically, because there are a lot of issues I think that are still unanswered. There are practical issues from literature. Yeah, I just collected a few notable comments, like the generation of nonsensical or inaccurate output is still there. Yeah. Then hallucination of GAI, fake content looking true and looking plausible, ambiguity, lack of objectivity of AI recommendations, ChatGPT's frequent use of unnecessary statements. We all know probably what I'm referring to, like as a large language model when we start comments like this. Then the tendency towards specific essay structures, specific prototypical models. Also, I mean, it's seen that detecting AI-generated content is seen as essential by many teachers, but I think it's probably futile. Really, in the future, it will be more and more difficult because these GI tools will become better probably, and yeah, how do you they will eliminate those markers that you can still see maybe, and in the future it will become very, very difficult. Open ethical issues, plagiarism, when copying chatbot generated text without appropriate attribution, or GAI used for ghostwriting, so without attribution to GAI. Then when students indicate GAI use, this implies co-authoring really. Yeah? So what is the share? Where do you draw the line? How do you divide it up? GAI texts cannot be referenced. Basically, they're not published, not permanent, not replicable, so it's very difficult. Unreliable reference lists are produced by those tools when you ask them to produce a reference list on a certain topic, for example. Plagiarism software cannot detect original content written by GAI, and there's also a question of ownership of data. So private companies own the data; they are stored on the S servers. That's also why our university has introduced an in-house chatbot, but it's still not open for students to be used because they haven't finished it yet, but it was announced for the beginning of this semester. So it's going to take a while, I think, until such data protection issues are also solved. What is the response by our university? There are GAI guidelines for students and teachers. They leave teachers a range of full implementation to no implementation of GAI. So teachers can decide what to do with GAI. There are also guidelines for good scientific practice. Students sign under oath that I have declared in the method, presentation, or an index all 8 used artificial intelligence assistant systems and indicated their usage at the corresponding text passages. And this declaration also contains the sentence, I have been informed that my work may be checked for plagiarism and for third-party authorship of human, ghostwriting, or technical origin artificial intelligence assistant systems. There is open encouragement from our management to use GAI in courses, and there are also internal training programs that have been set up for teachers how to use GAI and how to implement GAI in courses. Concerns that remain still. 1 minute, thank you. The risk of learning loss, especially in developing critical and creative thinking. So an over-reliance on GAI, yeah? De-skilling of students through this over-reliance. Ghostwriting and the lowering of academic standards. I mean, universities have a limited capacity somehow if they are not technically assisted. So there may be a situation when the use of GAI tools for writing texts has become so overwhelmingly widespread that what would you do as a university? And this could be a risk, yeah. Threat to individual freedom and pluralism and disenfranchisement of academics is mentioned as well as one main concern. And conventions of GI use, authorship, copyright, referencing the question of GI as a legal entity. At the moment, it's not a legal entity, and probably won't become one, because if there's something going wrong, you cannot sue the chatbot. Yeah, it's impossible. Checking accuracy of content will become more and more difficult, especially if you have no real background information about a certain topic that the GI produced. And also detecting bias in texts can become more and more difficult for teachers, for him. So why is ChatGPT no 3.5 at least? No, also, I mean, they have developed the chatbot and there's a new version already and a more professional version, but in general, I think it lacks emotional depth and life experiences. It lacks deep understanding of complex concepts. GI is not creative, so no intuition, no improvisation. Produces machine texts that are clear, clean, sober, lifeless, but potentially biased. And when it writes in prototypic style, so there's nothing between the lines. So they are machine texts. You can tell, yeah, really. The question is, this will change in the future. It will become more and more difficult for humans to, I think, really detect what has been written by GI and but still, this is the situation we need to deal with, I think, in the future. Okay, thank you.